My name is Mohamed ElGohary, and I work as a social media coordinator for a Masri Yom newspaper. And I'm also an author and editor for Global Voices Online. I have a degree in biomedical engineering, and I am based in Cairo.
So what did you make to become an activist?
I always read political newspapers in my early life, and then I became a moderator in a political section of a magazine, an online forum, and after that I was introduced to blogging in 2006, and I saw that many people were arrested for just expressing their views. So I became an activist after that, attending trials and supporting people who are endangered by the government for just expressing their views. This was really very alarming to see how the government dealing with things after years of reading government media that everything is right and the political situation is right. So after being exposed to what is really going on, I became an activist after that.
So today, actually, the Prime Minister who was given charge by Mubarak, he resigned.
Yes.
We all got stuck in the traffic jam. So, if you would have to give a personal experience of the last couple of weeks, what is it?
The last couple of weeks was after the revolution was I always as a newspaper I tend to cover everything from every point of view in the Facebook and Twitter accounts and newspaper. And I spend sometimes in Tahrir Square. I spend the night there since I work in the afternoons, and my work is just like 300 meters from the square. So it's easy for me to go to spend the night there. So many people are still in the square in the past two weeks. For several reasons, the government was still there, the Mubarak government. Most of the Mubarak men in the media was still there, and also there are many people. There were many normal workers in the banks and several newspapers, other newspapers other governmental newspapers to get out their managers, the heads of the management. And most of the managers were out. There was a bank there where they had a symbolic funeral that their manager is out or the management is dead.
Yeah.
So it was really, amused to see that these people had what they protested for. In the last 2 weeks, this was what is going on until today, where the Prime Minister resigned. So tomorrow we'll have celebrations Tahrir Square for this resignation, and see what are the new ministers who will be appointed as new ministers, because we have to make sure that nobody will come back from the old government.
Yeah. Before we come back to this entire political issues, what needs to be done and blah blah blah. How did the entire thing started?
It was a long time ago, and from the last, it already started from the year 2000, In the very beginning of the creation of political opposition was from the Palestine demonstrations, pro-Palestine demonstration in 2000, and from people who demonstrated at that time. Groups of activists began to be created, began to be organized, and then in 2003 there was some demonstrations for local issues, which increased by time till its peak in 2005, 2006, where the judges movement, there were some kind of a judge massacre in a figurative way, where many judges were fired for their for fighting corruption in a way, and during that time there were many activists many people became activists at that time, and after that to 2028 the workers sit in the riots in Mahalla, and the 6th of April was created back then, 6th of April 2028, as the Facebook group who supported these incidents, and after 6th of April many people turned to be activists also under 6th of April, under several other organizations like Kifaya, which means enough in Arabic, and many left political organizations. They were not parties, because parties has to be approved by the government to be official parties, which really makes the whole process useless. So they were not parties, they were just movements from the several degrees of left, from extreme left to democratic left and so on. Until Khaled Said issue. Khaled Said, he's an Egyptian victim of police brutality. And his photo after he was beaten to death was very common, and there was some activists created the Facebook group "What We Are All Khaled Said." It became really popular among the Egyptians. Nowadays it's approaching 1 million fan in the page. This page became a source of spreading political awareness and spreading awareness of human rights, and organizing demonstrations, symbolic organizations wearing black en masse in several cities at the same time. So it was kind of practicing organization of people in several cities at the same time, making it very difficult for security to oppose them. Until it was in the 25th, where the weeks before 25th, where Khaled Said admins created the event of 25th of January, and they chose that date because it's the police holiday. Because on 25th of January in 1952, the Egyptian police fought against the British occupation in Ismailia until the 50 people, they were all dead, martyrs. So they chose that day for several reasons to show that the police are not friends anymore, that they should be transformed from policing or from protecting the regime to protecting the people. And when it was not expected that many people to be on the ground, so during that people spontaneously demanded that Mubarak should be gone, and they are chanting in the streets, "Go, go, go! Mubarak should be down." And they spent 18 days on a kind of war zone in several cities. The most affected cities were Cairo, Alexandria, and Suez, that the most dead people are from. And the only cities where had the military curfew. They had curfew in these cities, and after those 18 days, Mubarak was gone.
Yeah. So, when did you have the very first time the feeling we're gonna make it? Gonna succeed?
And in the Friday after Friday was 28th. Many people. It's near like all Egypt or at least all Cairo that I saw went to the streets. In my place, I didn't see any demonstration in my place before, and after the Friday prayers, all people were calling those in the balconies to go down to the streets. So it was really, really powerful, and you cannot not go to the streets. You must go to the streets when you hear people calling for you to join them. So it was really amazing to see the numbers and the chanting, and it was really very inviting for you as a person to join them. And we marched all the way from my place. My place is like 7 or 8 kilometers to Tahrir Square. We walked. It's like a direct distance. The actual distance would be more like 12 or 15 kilometers. We walked a long distance on foot to Tahrir Square, and during that we faced several situations. Some of the police forces gave in. They didn't fight. Some of them aimed at us in the middle of the distance. I was aimed by police force, live ammunition, and tons of tear gas. And after several attempts, the police gave in the middle of the distance. And after that, we were like playing Tom and Jerry jobs, police hitting, and we were hiding in the entrances of homes, and the people were giving us water and giving us fruits to eat, and some of them were distributing vinegar to deal with the tear gas. Some of them were distributing Pepsi and cola for treating our skin against the tear gas reactions. So until we reached Tahrir Square, and that day I reached Tahrir Square at like 6 or 7, and I saw the remaining of the bullets on the ground. I saw many injuries pouring in. I heard a machine gun, and I saw that there were still tear gas in Tahrir Square. Many security forces were in Tahrir Square. I had some rest in a mosque in Tahrir Square, and suddenly it became a field hospital where many injured people poured in for as a safe place, because the main square was very dangerous. With many cars were on fire, many security cars on fire, many some protesters captured the cars and set them on fire, so they can't use it again.
So it was a kind of war.
It was a war zone. So after the mosque became a field hospital, they used the microphone calling for doctors from around to come to the mosque for hospitalizing the injured people. And after doctors came, they had enough doctors, so they again asked for cars to transfer, because ambulances were dangerous. Some of the thugs stole ambulances, so you might find an ambulance filled with armed men shooting at you. So ambulances were really very dangerous. So we called for normal cars to transfer the injured people to hospitals. And after that, we found out that some of the hospitals had security, and they were beating the injured people. So it was really hectic. We only chosen certain hospitals to transfer the injured to, so no security can attack them. So it was more than a war zone. It was a war zone where the police were doing dirty jobs. Like no one in wars should attack injured. I personally never heard of it, but it happened in our case. And at night, and they had this was the first day where the curfew was issued. It was from 6 or 8. I'm not sure. It was 6 p.m. there, but it was really not enforced. I went home at 11 that day to rest because I was slightly injured by bullets in my leg. Not live, but ammunition, unfortunately. And then I turned on the TV and I saw that everything, there is no protest, or there is hundreds of protesters in Tahrir Square. They're pointing in an empty spot, always spotting an empty spot in the Nile. Nobody will be on the water for demonstrations. So I was really pissed off that how the media deals. And after that, later at night, they faked news of looting. They had people inside the headquarters of the state TV saying that people are attacking them, and there were really not people attacking them. They said that people were looting in Tahrir Square. In Tahrir Square, there was no looting in Tahrir Square specifically. They were looting in other places after that. Days after, because the police suddenly withdrawn from all over Egypt in an obviously organized way, and in the same time they opened the prisons deliberately, and they forced them actually to be out. Some of them didn't want to come out, it was the prisoners. They aimed them with guns to get out, or they will kill them. So of course some of the prisoners were organized for looting by police, and even some of the secret police were arrested by the army for looting. So the police force by Mubarak orders were spreading chaos, so they can show the people that it's us or chaos. And this was happening, and the army was trying to enforce insecurity, but some of the officers, maybe all of them, after because the army was handling the security situation, the people were arresting the thugs and handling them to the army. Some of them were released again, the army, but in a very suspicious movement, until some of the people built a civilian prison in the metro station, so they can deal with them afterwards, until the army was trusted again, so they can deal with the situation.
So as we were talking before, this whole thing until today, till the resignment of the Prime Minister, it's really just the very first step.
Yes.
We were talking about how is it going to be? Are you going to have a new constitution? What is if the old constitution will remain? Would this make sense? I mean, you were explaining that 62% is direct of all governmental action is directly controlled by the president.
Yeah.
So if you're not going to change your constitution, same shit might happen again.
Yes. Well, what is currently happening is they are amending the parts of the constitution directly related to the elections. That the president would be in power for only 4 years instead of 6 years, and he will be appointed for only 2 periods instead of unlimited periods. This was the main amendment in the constitution, but I'm not sure if this is good. But it's better than none at the current situation, because the people who were the people who are appointed for amending it, some of the head of them is a trusted person, but it's still appointed by Mubarak, so. It's really, it's neither very trusted nor not trusted. So you are still in the suspicious mode.
So what kind of role does the military plays right now? Is it really accepted by the people, or is there this kind of feeling, what happens if they really take over?
Well, I don't think that they will take over, but they have learned the lesson that they can't go against the people's choice, but they are not doing it the right way. They don't get the easy way. They don't do all the reforms in a radical way like people want, but they're doing it in a very, very slow way. They always wait till the people pressure them to do what they want to do, and after the pressure goes for a long time, it's like the Prime Minister was in power for 33 days, and they waited 33 days to turn them down. So they are really very slow, but they are doing actions, which is not bad. So they want to preserve the not bad situation. Some people are chanting that we and the army are one hand. I personally see this as a ridiculous chanting, but it gives some trust, and with the pressure, it gives some action.
So what you are really saying that it is people's business now to go out there, to stay out there until reforms are really in process.
Are really done. And also there is another decision yesterday. They for elections in the past they had an elections card, which is really a very it is a step towards rigging any elections, because there are always some dead voting, that people voting in the elections some activists are prevented from voting, that their names are not in the records. So now voting will be by only the ID, which is a perfect situation. This was only issued yesterday, but the day before we were asking the police stations. They said that your name should be registered first, and we were confused because the army said that it is by ID. It's like a week ago, the army said it's only by ID. And this confusion was clear just yesterday night, that the elections will be by ID.
How do you feel now? I mean, being a political activist, do you feel free already? Do you think you can act now according to your thoughts, to your,
Well, every revolution has a very beginning, and we are not yet finished with the old regime. Maybe today we are finished with most of them. For example, the newspapers, editors-in-chiefs, the state journalism heads are still there. They should be out. So we need to get rid of all the old regime men who are still in action, and either they leave or be persecuted, which is better. So I can consider that it's the elections to be going in a free, fair way.
Do you think this time we are talking right now until September, when the next election is supposed to be? Do you think there will be time enough to set something up like a real opposition, or that all these powers which are right now out there can somehow be organized and balanced in the right way?
Well, the current political parties are out of questions. They are too weak for organizing themselves in this small period. But there are already political movements who are not parties, but they can be transformed as parties. It's only a matter of procedures. But they are already present in the streets. They have their unofficial followers, who can be official followers in no time. So I think that these movements are prepared for elections. And there is also another issue that is not tackled enough. That Egypt should be transformed to a parliamentary way of ruling instead of presidential, because presidential, it's always a person, and one person is not right. So maybe in the new constitution that will happen. Also changing the way the voting is operational for constitution amendments or for new constitution, by voting by lines, or not voting by overall constitution. It's take it or leave it, it's never right. So I guess people should pressure for that too.
Do you see anything like people participating in some ways in the new government, except only voting for the people?
There were calls for electing everyone in the government. There are calls for electing governors. Governors were appointed by the president. So there are calls for transforming the main way of appointing people to be by elections, by government or even by corporates. They want to spread elections in every way possible. So to, in a way, train people, and another way to choose the right person. And many managers are now either out or going to be out. Like at my father's workplace, there is he works in a hospital back in Mansoura, and the heads, the financial manager and the general manager, are nearly off now. They are cooperating with the army so they can fire them. So, and this is happening in many places. So they can enforce elections in their place. And also there are many people are calling for elections in ElGohary as a religion institution, because by law the head of ElGohary is appointed by the president too. So many people are calling for elections in many ways, not only for the constitution, not only as a political wise.
Do you see the field of education. Does the educational system needs to be changed? Do you think people are, as we discussed before, are really aware what they could do or what they are allowed to do in a new form of governance?
Well, of course,
mean, when you
education will change. The education was destroying people's minds, and they knew it. So they always had their alternative ways of knowledge. So I think that they are currently, many people are active in seeking political awareness for themselves. They are not waiting for chances to be educated. They are very hungry for political what is democracy, what are the political the right and left and the difference and the meanings, and they want to be aware. They want to know the real thing after years of indifference, which is a very good thing. When people are seeking awareness, it's much better, it's much faster than inviting them to being aware.
I mean, you're standing for a generation which is young, which is highly educated, you speak a foreign language fluently. What about your parents? How do they feel now?
Well,
for example.
My parents are. My mother was really afraid that things might turn to chaos, but after the revolution, she was very happy that things will change, and that hope still exists. My father is slightly was pro revolution before it happened. He went to demonstrations in his city for at least for seeing what's going on, and it was really nice experience for him. And he, at the same time, he was supporting, at his work. I was just telling you about what's going on. So he was actively participating in making things better in his work. So they are. They think that there is still hope that this country will be a very much better place than now. So, yeah.
So you do have hope as well.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do next within this entire thing?
Well, I'm currently trying to seek. I am a contributor for Global Voices. And they have many projects for awareness, for teaching people about social media, and how, and this way people can cooperate, can discuss with each other online what is better for them and express their views. So I think these kind of projects is very essential now. It's their high time now to be delivered to normal people, to make use of them for their prosperity, for getting better. So I think this will be my scope right now. So bringing conversations between different people, and how to seek seek ways of making government more open to normal people.
From my point of view, the very last question would be: how did Tunisia fuel all this?
Yeah, actually choosing the 25th was after seeing what happened in Tunisia. Tunisia was really a very effective catalyst for the people here, that they saw that demonstrations did something, because before Tunisia, activists were demonstrating since like 10 or more years, and they didn't see any result. So when they saw that demonstrations had had some kind of real results, real change, that the president is no more. I guess this was really a very big move, a very big pushing step for Egyptians to be convinced that things can change their place as well. So I think that Tunisia was very important to what happened. But if it didn't happen, I'm not sure. Maybe if it did happen, maybe it should have spent more time, because people were really fed up by what's going on. But the government was really, in the past years, they preserved the food for the people. Now there is no food. The food prices are on the roof. So there are people now not finding anything to eat. So if it had more time, maybe it could turn into violence. Maybe it can turn another kind of French Revolution. So I think that Tunisia is very important in catalyzing it, but maybe not the mere existence.
If you would have to describe your own personal opinion or feelings right now, do you feel, military is in government, you're not knowing as a citizen, you really don't know how it's going on.
Inside of the army, I mean?
Inside the country, actually. It's kind of, you've had the revolution, the government left, there is somebody in power you actually don't want to really have in power. You don't know how opposition will proceed until new election. There is a huge amount of uncertainty. Uncertainty is the word. How do you deal with this? What are your feelings about this?
Well, my personal feelings is that the army are very slow. Things are getting better in a very slow way, in a very slow pace, which consumes the transition period. The transition period should be only 6 months. So, I think that the army will eventually give up after the transition period. Maybe it can extend it, but I don't think the army wants to be pressurized for that long, because they have their own duties of protecting the country. So I think that at the end of a 6-month period, they either elections will happen or civil presidential council will run the country, because it's already demanded now that a presidential council of 3 civilian people, or 2 civilian and 1 military, to run the country right now. So that because of actions like detaining activists and torturing them till now, and military courts, which is not right. So and they are in power, so no one can really ask what's going on. So but I think that army will give up after the 6-month period, as a personal.